Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live in Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. You know, I might have to actually change my intro to good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second-rated Indiana political talk show podcast in the state. Oh, yeah, I'm a little excited about that, y'all. It's kind of cool when people recognize the work that you've been putting in. I've been doing this since 2017. I've been on radio stations. I've moved around. But, to finally get some recognition that, y'all believe that I am the best left-leaning podcast in the state, because the other person that beat me, that's number one, he's at WIBC, and he's a right-leaning guy. So y'all know that Turn Left is indeed the premier podcast for Indiana Democratic politics. So did y'all see the eclipse? I saw it. It was kind of cool. I was in Bloomington, down with my girl, down with my fam, actually. It was nice. It was a long day. I got to see the moon cross over in front of the sun and watching people, in awe and listen to the birds go silent and all that good stuff. It was excellent. But do you know what eclipse I want to talk about? I want to talk about that Dawn Staley eclipse. Boy, can we talk about how I know I never really talk about sports and anything other than politics, but can we just give a shout out and a standing ovation to the Gamecocks? Look, Caitlin Clark is going to be a Fever next year, and I am going to cheer her on when she puts on the uniform. But y'all have to give it up to the national championship, South Carolina Gamecocks, and what they were able to do to Iowa. Don't tell me that Iowa didn't have no other players. They made it to back-to-back championship games. No other team has done that in the last 2 years. LSU didn't do it. The Gamecocks didn't do it. In fact, IU beat both of those teams. Beat South Carolina last year and beat LSU this year. So that Iowa team was a good team. So stop pretending like they were not. But that Gamecock team was tremendous. And look, they're only losing one player. They're going to be back. And Dawn Staley is the best coach in the game right now. She knows how to motivate her players. She knows how to find the right players. She knows how to push the buttons. I'm really proud of her third national championship, the only African-American to win multiple NCAA championships at the coach level. I'm so proud of her. And as a woman, empowering other women to be great. Shout out. But that's all I got on that. I ain't gonna talk no more about sports because I got a rant. It's not really a rant, though. The Indiana Capitol Chronicle reports Indiana's 13-member Black Legislative Caucus will hold a 6-part town hall series in municipalities across the state, the group announced on Tuesday. It billed the events as opportunities for Hoosiers to learn more about legislation passed in the most recent session, which ended in March. Residents can also provide feedback and input ahead of next year's budget writing session. Okay, so here are the dates. The caucus has stops planned in Lawrence on April 13th from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern at the Government Center's Public Assembly Room, 9001 East 59th Street. Evansville, May 11th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central at the Evansville Vanderburgh Public Library, Central's Browning Event Room B, 200 South Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Elkhart on June 8th from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern at Agape Baptist Church, 248 West Wolf Avenue. Michigan City on June 22nd, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central at the Michigan City Public Library's main meeting room. And Fort Wayne on July 20th, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern at the Allen County Public Library Meeting Room, AB 900 Library Plaza. And finally, in Gary on August the 17th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central at Indiana University Northwest Savannah Center in the Bergland Auditorium, 65 West 33rd Street. I will, as I'm talking right now, I will copy and paste this into the chat so that you guys will have that information. All right. It's right there. So I think these town halls are great because a lot of our state, we don't have a lot of Black representatives that are in our areas. And so they're going to be able to talk about the things that matter to the Black community. I think it's wonderful. You know, we're lucky here in Indianapolis. We have all the Black electeds, right? But in Fort Wayne, they don't have any. In Evansville, they don't. Not at the State House. Not at the State House. So this is a great way for people to understand how these policies are impacting the African American community from our Black electeds from around the state. So I'm excited about that. All right, this is an important one. WTIU reports the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recently released guidance requiring informed consent for pelvic, breast, prostate, or rectal exams under anesthesia. Because Medicare funding can be tied to compliance, most hospitals are likely to follow it. However, one lawmaker is still pushing to add the informed consent requirements to state law. The guidance targets teaching hospitals and medical schools. HHS said the informed consent requirement means patients must be aware of any sensitive examinations done for teaching purposes and have the right to refuse those examinations. Representative Carolyn Jackson of Hammond has proposed legislation that the past 4 years that would require informed consent from patients, but the legislation has not received a committee hearing. She said even with the new guidance, legislation that outright bans the practice of non-consensual sensitive examinations under anesthesia would be in the best interest of patients. So I don't understand why this can't get a hearing. I mean, it's not like, you know, America has a history of, you know, performing unauthorized hysterectomies on Black women or anything like that. It's not like, you know, our people haven't done nefarious things before. So why not get the consent. Now, I love that hospitals are probably going to do it, but what if you're in a doctor's office and they're not in the hospital? Do they have to follow those guidelines? I think it's great that she's trying to push for this. And I'm going to call on the supermajority to, like, protect bodies. I mean, aren't y'all pro-life or something like that? Oh, wait, never mind. You're pro-birth. I keep forgetting. I've been getting those things confused. I get those things confused. All right. And finally, the Indiana Capitol Chronicle reports the Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicles does not have to issue a non-binary option on driver's licenses and identification cards per an Indiana Court of Appeals ruling on Tuesday. The BMV began recognizing a third gender on licenses with an X, meaning not specified, in 2019. Under an administrative rule. But the next year, then Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill, Mr. I want to get rid of DEI, released an advisory opinion saying the agency didn't have the authority to do so. In response, the BMV halted the practice and 13 non-binary Hoosiers sued. A Monroe County trial judge ruled against the agency, forcing it to reinstate its prior policy of reissuing driver's licenses with an X. Attorney General Ty Vakita office then appealed the case in the Indiana Court of Appeals. The trial court decision was reversed unanimously by a panel of 3 state appellate judges on Tuesday, remanding the case with the instructions to dissolve the injunctions against the BMV and enter a summary and declaratory judgment for the agency consistent with the opinion. Until the General Assembly determines otherwise, we hold that gender in Title IX of the state statutory scheme means sex. Senior Judge Randall Shepard wrote in the opinion for the appellate court. Shepard, a former Indiana Supreme Court justice, additionally concluded that the trial court erred in granting summary judgment to the appellees on their claim that BMV violated the Administrative Rules and Procedures Act by ceasing to issue identification credentials with non-binary gender designation. He noted in the opinion that the appellees argued gender to mean gender identity, while BMV defines gender as synonymous with sex. So this is a not so good thing for our LGBTQ plus communities and those who can identify as non-binary for whatever reason it is. You know, I really have a hard time with the idea that, you know, it's okay to carry, you know, concealed weapons wherever you want. You know, things that actually hurt people. We've passed legislation that says it is okay for you to walk around with a concealed firearm, loaded, locked, and ready to go whenever you want. But I can't get a non-binary driver's license. You don't even have to have any type of permit to carry this very deadly weapon. But apparently putting an X on my driver's license or state ID is somewhat problematic. I don't understand these people. Why do they have a problem with gay folks so much? Maybe they should try. I shouldn't say that. That's kind of rude. No, maybe not, because we probably wouldn't want them no way. Anyway, my point is, why can't we just let people be? You want people to let you be with your guns. So the next person, we just saw 2 parents get sentenced for buying their kid a gun, and then the kid goes and shoots up the school, taking the lives of 4 people under the age of 18. But we let people just run around willy-nilly with guns. But you have a problem with an X on an ID card. Y'all, we have things kind of twisted around here. You know, it's freedom for me, but not for thee. We see every day that women's reproductive health care is going by the wayside. You see what happened in Arizona, where they brought back a slavery era law to ban abortions and actually criminalize women who seek them and the people who provide them. But hey, do what you want as long as you do what I tell you that I want you to do. Guys, this election is so important. In Indiana, we don't have referendums, so we will not be able to put abortion on the ballot per se. But abortion is on the ballot. Civil rights are on the ballot. Body autonomy and being able to put an X on your driver's license, if that's what you want, is on the ballot by picking the right people to govern us. I know people are talking about, there's some signs out there right now where people are talking about Democrats pick up a Republican primary ballot. Do not do that. Do not do that. We have primary candidates running against each other in the Democratic Party. Plus, if you want to run for office, it's going to make it real difficult to run as a Democrat. Guys, let's be true to who we are. Our problem is that we're not turning out. I need you to take a friend to the polling place. The early voting is open now. Go tomorrow. Early voting is open now. Go tomorrow and cast your vote and have a say in this democracy. You should be impacting policy instead of policy negatively impacting you. And the only way you can do that is to have a say at the ballot box. Okay? Now, on this number 2 rated Indiana political podcast, I am encouraging Democrats to pull Democratic tickets and ballots. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. And I'm encouraging you to vote your conscience, vote your needs, vote your values. And if you happen to care about some folks in rural Indiana, vote for them too, because they need help. They don't even know they need it. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in Indiana, and the Republicans just ain't doing it right. All right, y'all, that's my rant. Let's hear from my sponsors, Bohm's Unique Boutique. Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com. Democrats, are you looking for an affordable content creation option? If so, look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own has you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl_its.com. All right. Y'all, I got a great show. You know, it's not often that I get to hang out with people from across the state who are running for office, and tonight's show is a little different. A couple of weeks ago, I got to be the host at Thomas's, we had a trivia night fundraiser. That was so much fun. And then on Monday, I was, last couple of Mondays ago, the Monday after Easter, I was up in St. Joe for Dingus Day and got to hang out with Carolyn and all the St. Joe folk. So that's the joy of the work and the things that I get to do. I get to actually kick it on a regular basis with all of our great candidates. First guest on my show tonight, he is running in the State House District of 62, running out of that Bloomington, Monroe County, Jackson County, Brown County, I think, area. Y'all give it up for Thomas Horrocks. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here with you.
And all the way from St. Joe, where they get her done up there, running for St. Joseph County Recorder, Carolyn Topolski. Carolyn, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing really good, Dana. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I love it. So, guys, was there anything in my rant that you guys wanted to comment on? Thomas, you can go first.
I'm with you, Dana, on both of those things. I cannot believe that something as simple and straightforward as informed consent wouldn't even get a hearing in committee. I don't understand what could possibly be controversial about that. It seems like that should be a no-brainer. But there's a lot of things at our state legislature that should be no-brainers that don't go anywhere. So maybe I shouldn't be so surprised. And then same thing with the driver's license. Who cares, right? Why? Why? It doesn't make any sense other than we have a legislature and we have Republicans who want to control every aspect of people's lives that they disagree with. And it's fundamentally at odds with what I was taught growing up, the party of so-called limited government, right?
Yeah.
It's just not true.
Not at all. Carolyn, did you have any comments on anything?
Well, first of all, Coach Staley, I mean, come on. I got to give it to South Carolina, but Caitlin Clark is a legend. But regardless, the thing that worries me most about them not even giving that a hearing is, are they just indifferent? Is that what this is? They don't care. I got to question that. I don't know if they have the effort to put the emotion into hating women and this kind of situation. I just wonder if they're just indifferent.
And this one, and that particular bill is not even just women. I mean, men get rectal exams, and I mean, and you know how, I don't mean to be rude, fellas, but I know how y'all all about that thing, and y'all be trying to, y'all be putting stop signs in front of that thing at all time. I mean, so this is for y'all too, right? This is really about, that doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that one either. I get it. All right. So you know what? This is the first time for both of you on the show. So Carolyn, I'm gonna go ladies first this time. Tell the people who you are and where you come from.
All right, Dana. Well, my name is Carolyn Richardson Topolski, and who I am is the last of 7 kids. Ooh. Girls, 2 boys. That gives me a lot of experience with how to handle a lot of things. My dad was a public servant. My grandfather was a public servant. And I put it that way because they were not politicians. My grandfather was a county councilman in the 20s and 30s. My dad was a city engineer and county engineer. He did run for mayor. He ended his career as the sheriff of our county. So the bottom line is public service is in our blood.
The family business.
Yeah, exactly. I spent my career in advertising, though, honestly. I stepped away from public service. I wanted to just try to do something different. But being in advertising puts me in touch with the community, puts me in touch with people on how to reach them for whatever you're trying to sell them, convince them of, or otherwise. So that's really where I come from as far as professionally. Personally, I'm a sports player. I played volleyball, soccer, softball. You know it. 40 years playing softball. I loved it. I wish I could do it. I got 2 new knees to show that I can't do it anymore. But that's who I am. I just recently got married in December. Yeah. 60 years old and found love. It's been awesome.
Hey, listen, you are never too old to find love. As long as you keep your heart open, baby, love will find you. Congratulations. Come on, hot mama.
Thank you. Exactly. So 26-year-old daughter, she's also into sports. She got named a head volleyball coach at IUSB, actually.
Nice.
She may get mad. I just released that, but sorry.
Oops.
Proud mom.
Nobody's listening. This is the only number 2 podcast. Number 2.
Yeah. I know who listens, and it's all the right people. But then to wrap it up, I am sitting in my sister's restaurant upstairs in her banquet room in New Carlisle, down in New Carlisle in Indiana. So Yeah, that's who I am.
So it sounds like you guys are legacy, and all of this is in St. Joe County, like your father,
Correct.
everybody.
Correct.
Wow. So you're royalty in St. Joe County.
Royalty is a funny word with politics because, that sounds stinky, I'll be honest. Public service is really where more what I would like to be boastful of.
Okay.
I had a sister who worked in the city for 70 years, for 40 years. I had another sister who worked in the county for the county sheriff's department for 25 years. We've just put our time in. I've been personally with the auditor's office for 7 years. So, public service, that's where we're at.
So
and people do about us.
Yeah. So this isn't your first election.
This is my personal first election.
Oh.
I'm an employee of the auditor's office.
Okay.
I run the chat room inside there. So
okay, excellent. Thomas, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
I will do that. Before I do that, you didn't ask me to do this, but you did MC at our. So I saw you had that ad in there, and I would highly recommend hiring Dana to come MC any of your events. She hosted trivia for us, and we had a grand time. So I'm just going to plug you real quick.
Thank you.
Yeah, but my name is Thomas Horrocks. I live in Bloomington, Indiana. I'm the husband of Adrian. Between us, we just got married this summer. It'll be a year next month.
Wow.
So
congrats.
New life as well. Congrats to you, Carolyn.
Who knew this was the Newlywed Show? Who knew?
That's right. We've got 5 kids between us, from 6 to 22 now. So 3 are in public schools here in Bloomington and 2 are in college. So we're navigating all of that. For my day jobs, I work as a pastor. I pastor Beechwood Christian Church in French Lick, Indiana, and I'm a chaplain in the Indiana Army National Guard. I've been doing that for 10 years here in a couple of days, so about halfway through a 20-year career, and including 1 overseas deployment and a year on full-time orders during our big COVID crisis. So a lot of time just serving people in the communities for fun. Adrian and I like to do a lot of rock climbing. We got a membership at the Hoosier Heights here in Bloomington, and when we get some free time, I like to go down to Red River Gorge in Kentucky and climb up on tall rocks.
Okay. Is it like netting and ropes that you're attached to, or is this the indoor rock climbing?
So we do both. We do indoor with ropes, and then we do some bouldering indoors as well. And then we go down to Red River Gorge and we tie into a rope and climb up and clip in.
I don't actually understand that one, but I'm going to go with it. Like I see people do it, and there's got to be some joy in it because they really do it. Like they have shoes and special chalk and all of that. And so, and so I'm hearing a theme here, guys, other than the newlywed, and maybe we should play a newlywed game. But I'm hearing the word service. Yeah. We want to be a servant. Thomas, talk about how do you go from being a pastor and a spiritual guy, so to speak, for the National Guard into politics and running for office?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I grew up, I'm a pastor's kid. I grew up in a real religious environment, in a conservative environment as well. Growing up, the government was, we were sort of, government's not a great thing, right? We government should stay out. Small government is what we believed in. And sort of this idea that we just needed personal responsibility, a lot of that, and a little bit of charity. And if that happened, everything would be okay. So I believed that for a long time. Then I grew up and literally and metaphorically, I started paying attention to the way that the world actually works. Paying attention to the news, and I came to realize that systems and structures and policy actually really do impact people's lives to a heavy degree. Started doing a lot of reading about it, reading some books and articles. I started talking about it online. This was while I was in seminary, and it was coinciding with some of the stuff I was learning in the Bible with the prophets who were calling out social injustice in their communities. And so I just started talking about it on Facebook and Twitter, and for the first time in my life, people started calling me a liberal. I was like, no, this isn't liberal. This is just reality. It's just biblical. This is just what Jesus said. This is just what people are experiencing in real life. But after a while, I kind of gave up fighting the label. I said, fine, if it makes me a liberal, I'll be a liberal. I just believe it to be true. And then starting to work as a pastor and a chaplain, I began to see firsthand that a lot of the issues that we were dealing with on the charity side were created on the policy side. And I came to this light bulb moment for me that I know a lot of other people have known for a long time, but it was an epiphany for me that charity doesn't fix what policy creates. And it never can. There was a quote from Desmond Tutu that I'll paraphrase, the Archbishop of South Africa. And he said, pulling people out of the river is great, but eventually you've got to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. And so for me, that illustrates the distinction between sort of justice and charity and policy and charity. And so after the last general election, I just sort of got pissed off with the way that things were. And I mentioned to a buddy of mine, I said, maybe I need to think about running for something instead of just yelling over the internet. And so he called me in July and said, there's nobody running for District 62. And I went, oh, no.
Gotcha.
But had some conversations, and people thought that it might be a good fit, even though I've got no experience. I've never done this before in my life. Thought it might be a good fit for this particular district. And it's been a fun ride so far.
And Carolyn, you'd worked in the auditor's office. So you'd worked in city government and county government. What made you decide to go ahead and throw your hat in the ring and become a candidate?
Oh, it had everything to do with my daily work. So I work in the plat room, and what the plat room does is manipulate parcels of land for taxation. So we transfer documents, we transfer deeds, titles of property. I have to use those recorder files every single day. I have to work with the personnel in that office every single day. And it could be so much more. I'm not here to bash the personnel in the office or anything like that, but there's just so many things. The incumbent right now is, I believe her mother was the recorder a few candidates back, a few electeds. So a lot of things haven't changed in that office, which is kind of the way it is in every office. But recently, the auditor's office, for instance, I just updated their webpage, and now you can go online and do all your property tax deductions. Dana, that's huge.
Yeah.
Don't have time to come to the office between 8 and 4:30 Monday through Friday.
No, we have jobs.
Exactly. And then we don't have any means of communicating, as far as here's what you need to do, So now you can go, like I said, you can do all your deduction forms online. There's a brand new deduction for Indiana. And we've had 5,000 applications come in since January for that one deduction alone.
Okay, wait, it's tax season. You keep going, what is the deduction so we all know about it?
Well, the deduction it's called an over 55 circuit breaker. So what that does is it puts a 2% cap on your taxes. So they can't rise more than 2% for 3 years.
Okay.
That something that the Indiana legislature just passed. It was optional for the counties. I believe us and Marion County are the only ones that picked it up.
Wow.
Personally, I don't think it's a great deduction. I think it's kicking the can down the road. If your assessment goes up these 3 years and you're only being capped at 2%, you're still going to have that big rise in assessment in 3 years.
So it's scary. Okay.
Yeah, my advice is to watch your assessment, which you should do anyway. But so it's been huge. People love that they can just do stuff online, because who wants to come downtown? Our downtown has terrible parking. I wish it was better. I love our downtown, but it's not friendly. It's just not. And
so it sounds like because you have worked in an office adjacent to the recorder's office, you can definitely see how, things could be a little bit different because of what you need from the recorder's office. You're really coming at it at a great kind of a way of saying, hey, look, I've been using you. I've been your customer. Now I can I think that's a great way to look at it. And both of you seem to have a good handle on what the role is that you're running for. Thomas, that policy, you both have talked about it, how policy directly impacts people. Carolyn, you just talked about this deduction that most of us probably didn't know about. Why has policy been so important to you in your growth as an adult or as a public servant, as you both have stated? And Thomas, I'll start with you.
Well, I will be the first to admit that as a straight white man,
we love those.
Yeah, policy. The system is sort of built for me, right? And so I have not been as negatively affected by policy as others have. But I've seen it, and I've seen the effect that it has on my neighbors and my friends and people that I care about. And so it was just one of those things for me that I came to realize after a long time of waking up that politics is simply the way that I love my neighbor in the public square, right? And so it went from voting in the best interest of my neighbor, realizing that wasn't enough to try to run so that I can affect policy at a higher level, so that the people that I serve in my different arenas in the church, in the military, I can affect policy for their good. It's really cheesy, but I really believe it. My tagline is making government work for all of us. One of the things I have noticed is that a lot of the policy that gets through is policy that either favors really wealthy special interest groups over and against everyday working people, or policy that serves a very narrow aspect of the culture wars. And I think that the government at its best is the administrative arm of the people to meet the needs of the people, not to fight culture wars and not to make rich people even richer.
I love it. Carolyn, why is policy so important?
Well, on a personal level, it's super important with what's just gone down with being a woman.
Hello.
Side note, my office I'm running for doesn't do any kind of policy. Right. We're administrative. But holy moly, the freedoms I've had since I was a kid, and now my daughter is facing things that I fear for her. I really do. I had a niece who was facing possible IVF. I had a good friend who lost 2 babies in, miscarriage. I mean, horrible stuff. The policy they were talking about with having to, bury your fetal remains, making women go through pregnancies with dead babies. I mean, they're horrible things that these representatives are doing to women. So policy absolutely affects me personally.
I know you also talked about how policy can impact what happens in your administrative role in these county offices. And so do you have a tendency to look out for specific policies that may, at the time, the auditor's office, but now as the recorder, would you be watching to see what kind of policies would impact those and how you would need to implement those?
I'm afraid that some of the policies that do impact specifically, like say the auditor, Dana, they are so buried deep in legislation that I don't know if I would honestly understand them to know to fight them. Wow. I know personally in our own county, we have, I'm sure other counties do it, but we have a thing called the TIF district. And as I understand it, what that is it takes money from one area to build up another area. Well, our TIF districts have gone rogue, completely rogue. They've taken money from downtown to build up a neighborhood near Notre Dame that has now taken all the business out of downtown. So those kinds of central policies that I notice at our level, I do fight for. But I think some of the things that affect personally the recorder and the auditor and the treasurer are done at state level, and I just don't see them.
I can dig it. Indiana's own Dana Black, turn left. I am talking to Thomas Horrocks, who is running for Indiana House District 62, and Carolyn Topolski, who is running for St. Joseph County Recorder. Guys, it's election season. Click the donate link. These folks could use some help. They're running for office. They're doing everything. They got to buy yard signs. You see these, look, they're matching color coordinated logos that they have. They had to pay for that too. So become a recurring donor for these folks or give a one-time donation. Either way is fine. Let's help these candidates get across the line. Because you know what? We can keep complaining about what ain't right, or we can do something about it. And what have I been saying all season? Time, talent, or treasure. All right. So Thomas, the State House is a mess. What issues? What 3 issues? When you're talking to people at the door and you're out door knocking, what are folks telling you they want you to accomplish when you get to the State House?
A lot of the stuff that I'm hearing from folks is just kitchen table issues, right? People are concerned about being able to afford everyday life. I spoke on the phone with one woman, invited her to an event, and she said, I wish I could come, but it's at night and I had to choose between buying my medicine or getting my headlights fixed, right?
Wow.
People who are telling me that they're afraid that they're going to be priced out of their house because of the rising property values, which is good for some of us, but for people on fixed income, all that means is higher property taxes. People are concerned about the price of gas. People are concerned about, I'm hearing a lot about women's right to choose what happens in their own bodies. And we're hearing horror stories from across the country of what happens when people don't have that right. I've got friends with trans kids who are just terrified for what's going to happen to their kids, and they just want the government to stay out of decisions that really belong between individuals and families and their medical provider. So really kitchen table stuff, and then getting the government out of the business where it doesn't belong being are the main things I'm hearing about.
Yeah. And see, Carolyn, I imagine you spend probably more time explaining what the recorder's office does, right? Versus somebody asking. Tell us a little bit about what the recorder's office does.
Well, the glib answer, honestly, is we record documents for public record. And what I mean by that is it's documents that pertain to land. So deeds, ordinances, liens, mortgages, things like that. That's different than what our clerk does. Our clerk does more of the marriage certificate or more marriage license and things like that. So what the recorder does is they have to keep these public records available to the public and make it easy for them to get to them.
That's pretty, but see, that's, you said it very simply and concise, and I love it, but people don't realize how important that stuff is, right?
Oh yeah.
If you're a veteran and you lose your discharge papers, that's something that the recorder's office would have, correct?
Correct.
And when
they work in with the VA office right now in the county city building, they have to.
Right. See, and those are important things. So if you're looking to get benefits, anything can happen. God forbid a tragedy occurs in your home and the house is no longer there. Now you can go to the recorder's office to get those documents and deeds. It's not glamorous, y'all, but you need somebody to do that. Right? Trust me. Go ahead.
And the thing is usually what I've seen at the auditor's office, when somebody needs a copy of a deed, it's because somebody's passed. It's not circumstance. There's times where they're going to sell the house, but a realtor will take care of that. But I've seen a lot of times where families come in and now all of a sudden they got to take care of their parents' will and house, and they don't know where to start.
Wow.
So it is important. It's the nuts and bolts of our community.
And people don't think about that. Like, yes, because I am one to continually be bent out of shape out of bad policies that come out of the State House. But this is where government is doing a good, right? This is your government looking out for the community and doing the servant work, right?
And let me tell you this, though. So the government did do it right. The recorder's office has a perpetuation fund. They're one of those offices that have that. And it's fed by all of the fees from the recording fees. So a mortgage costs $55 to record. X amount of dollars goes to the recorder's perpetuation fund, and so on. So right now we have one of the largest perpetuation funds in the state.
Wow.
And literally the definition of the perpetuation fund, I got to get my notes, is the preservation of records and the improvement of record keeping systems and equipment. Dana, we're sitting on $2.1 million. Ooh. And we don't have a free search. Ooh. We charge people to search $8.95. It's a third party. We get $2 of that $8.95. We got to do better. We just got to do better.
Yeah. Do I still have to pay if I can't find what I'm searching for?
Yes, you have to pay to get in. Yes.
You have so you y'all have
Yeah.
a velvet rope around the office, and you gotta
And that's-
pay
yeah.
you gotta pay a cover charge to get in. And
Oh,
wow, that's
girl, I can't
crazy. I
much
don't
they put
I
rope
don't
around themselves, but that's another conversation.
I don't think I
So,
like that.
Yeah. But I'll tell you a quick story. A woman came in the other day. She thought, I'm just going to research my own parcel. She's got some work to do on it. Cost her $300 to get what she needed. $300 to finally, and I mean, I knew what she was looking for. I offered to give her the numbers to go to the recorder's office. She said, no, thanks. I'm going to try it myself. And yeah, $300. So.
What did they charge by the minute?
No, it cost $8.95 to get in, and you look, and you have to pay that every time.
Oh, so she didn't find it on the first search. She had to keep coming back. Yeah,
exactly.
She should have asked Jeeves, because it sounded like she didn't know how to find what she was looking for. If it's only $8 and she had $300.
Yeah. But you should be able to. I think that's kind of irresponsible of us to not have that more available and cheaper. That's crazy.
You're right, but you're right. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but boy, she should have asked Jeeves.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
And I think it actually got to her to where she's like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Right. And she just was determined.
But yeah.
And so have you guys, like, has St. Joe, I know in Marion County, our former recorder went about the process of taking all that stuff that was on microfiche and digitizing that.
Yes.
Have you guys started doing that up in St. Joe as well?
Now, in the recorder's office, I don't know, but that's a good point. I did just get a brand new portal started in the auditor's office, and I worked with our archives, county archives, to secure the funds. The clerk, the auditor, and archives all went in on buying a new scanner to scan our own microfilm. Okay. Because we were getting 20 cents a copy from all sorts of people. It was crazy amounts of quoting. So we ended up buying the equipment, and right now I have all my records from the 70s of unrecorded deeds from the 70s to current online on a county portal for free.
And you were able to index it too?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. We can. Yeah. It's not an index, but it's an index.
But it sounds like you're exactly what the recorder's office needs, right? I don't know if you have a primary opponent. I don't mean to be disrespectful to your opponent, but it sounds like you have the knowledge of what it takes to make the office as the administrator run more efficiently, because that's what I'm hearing. My
specialty is logistics. It really is. I worked for 7 years for an agency out of Dallas for our local grocery store chain. Dana, I produced, printed, and delivered over 400,000 copies of a 16-page circular every week, because I was a graphic designer. So I designed it and everything.
What can't you do? Good Lord.
I'm just saying, this kind of stuff is in my blood. 25 years in marketing, you have to be on the forefront of all this stuff, so it's out there, and it's quite frankly pretty old technology. So I'm not really sure why we don't use it.
She's pretty much telling all of you Gen Z, millennials, and whatever the next gen, you never listen. Don't let the Gen Xer fool you. She coming for you, baby. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm a Gen Xer.
I'm the boomers.
Are you a boomer? You're not a boomer.
I'm a boomer.
Oh my God. You a special kind of boomer. Listen at you. You
don't give me age stuff.
Listen, no, you was a Woodstock boomer. You were the ones that.
That's right.
It's a different kind of boomer.
A little earlier than that, but yes.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, you was, but Thomas, okay, I'm gonna get serious again. I think, one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure I gave the recorder's office some attention is because I get mired and stuck in stuff in the State House, and I did not want to short, Carolyn. So let's back to the State House.
Thank you.
Every year in November, they have Org Day, and you get to submit your legislation. What are the first pieces of legislation that you are going to introduce when you are elected in November?
That's a good question. And the honest answer is I don't know. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure out where areas of expertise are and listening to people. And so I want to do a little bit more listening to my area before I would do that, because I know there's only so many that can be introduced. I know it's a big budget year, and I want to have a posture of humility and learning before I try to do it. But one of the areas that I want to focus on broadly is paying attention to how any given legislation impacts the most vulnerable groups among us. I was really moved by a quote from Hubert Humphreys, of all people, former Democratic vice president. But he said that the moral test of government is how it affects those who are in the twilight of life, the young, those who are in the beginning of life, the twilight of life, and then the shadows of life. So the young, the old, and the marginalized. And I just I want to be a voice to pay attention to how any particular legislation is going to affect those who are in those categories, to make sure that they're not getting left behind because we've got so many moneyed special interests who are lobbying for their own benefit. I want to make sure that we're focusing on everyday people. Which is sort of a cop-out answer to say, I don't know what the specific legislation is, but big picture, that's what I'm hoping.
Okay, then let me rephrase it. What are the three specific issues that you are most concerned with, that really drew you into, I'm going to give up time with my woman, my newlywed woman, that I'm going to go out here and knock doors. What are they?
Yeah, so the first one is quality of life, which is still pretty broad, but people being able to work jobs where they're safe at work and getting paid adequate wages for a fair day's work. Housing is a major issue here in Monroe County and in Brown County. We've got an affordable housing crisis across the board, so helping to address housing. Public education is huge. I've got 3 kids in public school. I believe that our children really are our future. And when we talk about education as a cost instead of an investment, I think we're missing the mark. So I think, quality of life, education, healthcare. I talk to a lot of people where healthcare is ridiculously expensive here in Monroe County. When I first tried to find a primary care doctor here in Bloomington, I had to wait a year to get seen. And we're paying the 7th most expensive healthcare costs in the country for those kinds of outcomes. So quality of life, healthcare, and education are probably 3 of the top ones. But it's like people say, do you want your kids to be healthy, fed, or educated? And I want them to be all of those. And we got a lot of work to do at the State House to address all of these things.
And I find your approach to this rather interesting. And I'm questioning, I'm curious, not questioning, that's different. That's the wrong way to say it. I'm curious to know if the way you view things at a broad level, because you want to have the greatest positive impact on the most amount of people. Does that come from the religious studies? Does that come from the spiritual studies?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, my guiding principle comes from, Jesus, who said, love your neighbor as yourself, right? And by this, all people will know if you have love for one another. And when I made the connection that politics is simply the way that we love our neighbor in the public square, that was a light bulb moment for me. And I said, yeah, I want to shape policy to help the biggest number of people. There was a quote from a book I read several years ago that said, it's not enough to just help a few people beat the odds. We need to change the odds for everybody.
Ooh,
and I think that only happens at the level of public policy. That's where we change the odds for everybody. Charity is great and important, and we'll always have a need for it to help people beat the odds. But we've got to change the odds for everybody.
So let me ask you this. Obviously everybody believes the way they believe, and we're not questioning how they believe. But when you hear Christians who are vehemently opposite of everything that you just talked about based on policy, how does that make you feel as a Christian? Because they always want to make it seem like Democrats don't love God either. You know what I'm saying? They be trying to make us seem like we ain't Christian, but almost every black politician is a pastor, so I don't even understand what they're talking about. Anyway, I'm gonna get off but you hear the other side, who often is as vehemently righteous in what they believe, but are writing policies that are harmful. How does that make you feel as a pastor, as a believer?
it's probably not the most pastoral response, but it makes me feel pissed off. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because I refuse to let them have it. The faith that I have come to learn, I think, is good and beautiful and beneficial and helpful. And I refuse to give it up to people who want to weaponize it and use it for hate and division and harm. And it makes my job so much harder. It's funny, throughout my career as a minister, I've talked with a lot of people who they say, you know what? I really like Jesus. I like his message. I like his teachings. I like what he was about. But Christians, man. And I said, I know, I know. And so part of it is I want to help. I want to be a part of the other side that says, listen, we're not all that way. And the loudest among us don't get to claim it for everybody. And so this is sort of my rebellion, my way of resisting that and saying, you don't get to keep it.
I didn't ask this of you, Carolyn, and how you believe is how you believe. But, that discussion that Thomas and I are having, when you hear the other side, and again, it's not about what you're going to be working on in that office. And we discussed that. But when you hear, the religious right, always doing things that harm people through policy, how does that make you feel?
Well, I was raised a Catholic.
Okay.
I don't practice anymore, but I know enough about all of those things that these supposed Christians, they're scary. That's my opinion. They are kind of bringing revelation around, if I'm saying that correctly. Mark of the Beast with the red mark on his head. Prophet.
Come on.
I truly believe that we are in an interesting biblical time. I always believed in God, and I believe in everything that he states, love thy neighbor, all that good stuff. These people aren't that. They're very scary.
Yeah, I'm often, everybody keeps talking about The Handmaid's Tale. First of all, I ain't gonna make it. They're gonna kill me like the first episode.
No kidding.
I ain't gonna make it because I'm gonna cuss them out. This mouth is just too powerful and they're gonna get mad and I'm gonna just be dead. I already know. So don't worry about me. I'm be dead. But here we talk about, our founding fathers literally said, no, we do not want theology governing us. Right. And these folks are literally running around talking about, no, that's not what they meant. That's not what they meant. The brilliance of Marjorie Taylor's and the Greens, are now constitutional scholars, not ever. And they are trying to gaslight us into believing that are these men who set this system of government up did not want theology out of it. How do we be forthright? And it's okay to believe what you want. Because I tell people all the time, I'm gonna fight for the Muslims. I'm gonna fight for the Jews. Right. I'm gonna fight for the atheists. I'm gonna fight for all of y'all because our government say, our documents say, we'll have no state religion. But now you see it in real time, where judges are making opinions and making judgments based on their religious belief. How do we get people to understand that? Yes, it's okay to believe what you believe, but we got to get that part out of it. Can guide your moral compass, but it shouldn't dictate policy. Talk to me. Am I preaching? I might be preaching.
You're preaching. It's good. Keep going.
Preaching is always needed when you're talking about this stuff, frankly. But it's a scary time. That's all I can keep going back to. I grade school, they thumped it in my head about, what to expect when you don't follow the teachings of the Lord. And I've stepped away from an organized church, but I still have it in me,
Absolutely.
And what I feel, though, honestly, Dana, is that what they found is a profit center. And I think that is 90% of what religion is being used for. I don't believe that that's in everybody's heart when it comes to religion, but I think it's one of the most used entities for people to profit from.
Wow.
And that's why,
Thomas, what do you think about that? That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I think she's exactly right. And I can give you, anybody who wants to, I can give you a whole list of books to read about how this happened over the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, the way that the religious right in a quest for corporate power. Kevin Cruz has a great book about that. Have weaponized religion for profit and for control, and it didn't. And over time, they became the loudest, most prominent voices. There's always been streams of religion of every faith, of Muslims and Jews and Christians and non-believers as well, who use what they believe for others, and there's people who use it for power and control. And I think the way that we do that is we have to organize together, right? And those of us who don't believe the same things religiously, but understand that the imposition of somebody's personal beliefs is wrong, need to say so. And we need to say so through our votes. And we need to say so through our donations, and say, you are absolutely free to believe what you want to believe. That's part of the beauty of this country, but you don't get to impose that on me because I believe differently. And I think one of the ways we can do that practically is say, well, you wouldn't want anybody else to do that to you, right? Let's go back to the golden rule. Let's treat each other how I want to be treated. If you wouldn't want somebody else's religious tenets imposed on you through the government, then don't do it to them, right? To me, it's that simple. But again, when you're driven by power and control, it takes us organizing together to say we're not going to take it. To quote the Beastie Boys or whoever that was.
But I tell you, that actually happened when I was running for office back in 2016. I was out during the primary season, and you pick a precinct to hang out in for however long. And I struck up a really nice conversation with a Republican. Very nice conversation, because I remembered, at the time, I cannot be the loud, angry black woman who dresses like a man in, up in the 1% of my state getting all loud and huffy. So I made sure that I remained measured. And he went on his quest to explain to me about his deep conviction of his religious beliefs, and he was, profoundly committed to, testifying and recruiting, right? Recruiting. And I told him, I said, you know what? I believe you believe that. I believe you believe everything you just told me. And then I asked him, I said, so why do I have to believe it? And the conversation ended. Because you don't have no answer for that. You don't have no answer for that. Y'all, this is a really, really smart conversation, I swear. I mean, because, a lot of people want to tiptoe around the real issue. I mean, here you have a guy who is a 3-time divorcee, but has 91 or 88 now, 88 criminal indictments against him. And you have these religious folks going, oh, I'm with that guy.
Yeah.
The craziness of it, y'all. Indiana's own Dana Black. The time goes by so fast, and I really have enjoyed this conversation. I could talk to y'all, and I see that I need to get to Thomas's library, but more importantly, I'm gonna get Nicole to Thomas's library so she can read them and give me the cliff notes.
There you go.
All right, Carolyn. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me at elect Carolyn Topolski for Recorder on Facebook. That's probably your best bet. Go to any of our Democratic websites, and there's some links there that you can find me as well. But I do need to give a quick shout out to the Rebel Readers.
Okay.
They are a group here in New Carlisle taking on the Moms for Liberty.
Wow.
They're going after our library, Dana. They're going after our books.
What are they doing, and how can we help?
They are trying to ban things like Charlotte's Web.
What?
For goodness sakes. You've heard of Moms for Liberty, right?
Yeah.
I have not heard what their problem is with Charlotte's Web, but that's on their book list.
Oh, you should share their book list with us so we can.
I will. I'm just getting, the committee's just getting going. So, but it's Rebel Readers. And what these guys are doing in the Moms for Liberty is they're going to all the little outlier communities, trying to get a band of conservatives together. The new New Prairie School Board is awesome. They are not allowing it, but it doesn't mean they're still not going to be up against a fight. So rock on, Rebel Readers.
Okay. Well, see, I know what they were doing down here in Hamilton County. They started their first mailer, their first emailer with a Hitler quote. So.
Oh, God. Wow.
Yeah. They literally their first, hi, we're moms for whatever the heck she is. And hi, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Think about that. Maybe they should read.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Yeah.
Do you have any events coming up that people can learn about?
I do. On April 20th, there is a fundraiser. It's a game night. So what we're doing is selling whole tables, and you can bring whatever games, cards, Monopoly, Jenga, whatever. And some prizes going throughout the night, a bar, some food, things like that. So you can check it out on my Facebook page.
Excellent.
So,
excellent. You selling tickets for this as well?
all on my Facebook page.
All on your Facebook page. All right.
Just QR code, and then you can just say what it's for.
Excellent.
That it's for the
Excellent.
So, yeah.
I love. Come on, techie.
You should come up. Come on up.
What's the date?
I have 4/20.
The 8th?
April 20th.
April 20th. Okay, I'll see. I'm not sure. Is that a Thursday?
It's a Saturday.
Saturday. Okay, I'll see. All
right.
All right, you never know. Thomas,
Cool.
tell the people where they can find you.
Hey, so yeah, we're Horrocks4Hoosiers.com. And then Facebook, Horrocks for Hoosiers, TikTok, Horrocks for Hoosiers, Instagram, Horrocks for Hoosiers. But for some reason, for Twitter/X, that was too many characters. So it's Horrocks for IN62. Yeah, so on social media, feel free to shoot me an email, thomas@horrocksforhoosiers.com. Then I will say, for those who are listening tonight for the state legislative races, this is tomorrow is the last day for our pre-primary fundraising. So if anybody is able, giving now before that deadline will have a real big multiplying effect for the general. So I will just throw that little bit of shameless plug in there.
And you can look, we make it easy. Just click the link right there. If you're watching it live, click the link. Trust me, when I post it to YouTube and on Spotify, their links will be there because they use Act Blue. We love Act Blue.
We do love Act Blue.
Thank you, guys. Hang on. Don't go anywhere just yet. I want to give a little closing real quick. Guys, I did that again. How do I mess around and hit the wrong button? I need an assistant. Guys, we've been doing this work for 7 years, and it brings me so much joy in doing this work and talk. You see, look at our candidates. Our candidates are amazing. I am so excited for Carolyn and Thomas. They are amazing candidates, both first-time candidates, but strong, very strong with talent. We have got to support our candidates. We have got to turn out the vote. We cannot stay home and pretend like everything is going to be all right. We cannot bury our heads in the sand. So if you're listening, I beg you, could you please go ahead and donate $5, $10, $15 to our candidates tonight, and then find someone else to help. Some of these seats, like Thomas's House seat, a Republican holds it, but it's a winnable seat. We can flip it. We could end the supermajority. And say, Joe, when I was up at Dingus Day, they all said we learned our lesson. We had majority of the county offices and the city offices in South Bend, but we took our eye off the ball and they lost seats. They got comfy. You saw what happened 2008. Indiana goes blue for Barack Obama. He wins twice. Oh my God, Democrats are in charge. We doing the thing. But guys, we know what it was. That white backlash is always real, but we have an opportunity to do what's right. I need y'all to understand policy impacts everything you do in life, and who's running your policy and who's administering the government offices that has your records, right? You may not think it's a big deal, but when you need it, you want it to be efficient. You don't want to spend time. You don't want to spend $300 on an $8 search. That's crazy. So continue to support candidates. Continue to support Turn Left. I appreciate y'all, and continue to show up and show out for the people that matter and who are going to create good policy. There will not be a show next week. I will be in D.C. for work. And my guest who was scheduled for next week was Representative John Bartlett. So what we are going to do, because I had his primary opponent on earlier in the year, and we had already scheduled it, and he was like super cool, like, it happens, you got to work. We're going to do a special recording, and then I'm going to put it out for you guys so you guys can hear from him as well. That way you can hear from both candidates on the show. All right. So Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything, but more importantly, get up, get ready. Early voting is underway. I want to see all the happy pictures with the sticker I voted today. In the meantime, I'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.